How to eat a high protein breakfast if you don't have time to cook. 6 raw eggs and a raw beef brain. (110 grams of protein, 1100 calories.
What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about this fitness influencer who has gone viral for eating raw eggs and raw beef brain. This TikTok has been viewed over 10 million times, leaving followers shocked, and apparently it's such a big story that news outlets are even covering it. So this guy, high protein breakfast. He often posts videos about eating raw meat as part of his fitness routine. One video went viral where he appeared to eat raw brain and eggs for a high protein breakfast. Experts say eating raw meat can increase risk of disease, so it's safer to have cooked protein. They basically just summarize exactly what he's doing, but they dissect some of the, pull out some of the biggest comments, which we'll get into in a sec. Like, this is the guy's page. Weem Brishi. I don't know if that's butchering his name, but apologies if so. It says, God bless America, real life Wolverine. This is not medical advice. And he's pretty new to TikTok seemingly, and here he is, I guess he trains. It's like, does everyone fucking train at this gym? Jesus. So here he is at Zoo Culture. Like literally everyone and their goddamn dog is at this gym apparently. And here he is eating raw meat, feeding Bradley Martin raw meat as well, going viral again.
Here, this is lamb. This is lamb. Okay. So where do I bite? Like, I like to whatever the fuck you want, bro. Just grab a bite out of it. You want salt?
Why is he shirtless? Like, seems unnecessary. I don't know.
I came in yesterday, I was eating, and I noticed you guys don't have salt, so I brought in my own salt.
Alright.
I mean, it was like you're eating sushi.
It's amazing, yeah.
What?
It's like you're eating sushi. What? Everybody makes a big deal out of it, but it's literally...
It tastes like sushi, but like it's steak. I feel like I'm eating poke. It's fun. It's actually good.
Go for it.
Like, it's not bad.
Give me one fucking meal, you can eat almost 1,200 calories and go 5 minutes later work out without burping and feeling like you can't move. I mean, raw meat, you can do that every fucking time. I'll give you any part of steak, you can eat it 5 minutes later, you're working out like a fucking animal. No problem. Zero problem. No bloating.
You don't think it's just gonna make me hurt my stomach later?
No.
It tastes like like a raw piece of meat. I mean, that's it. It's literally raw meat. It's not bad though.
That's funny. Summarization. Tastes like a raw piece of meat. It's not bad though. It's like, well, yeah, it tastes like raw meat. Great analysis. Raw chicken, so fire. Why is this becoming a thing? We didn't progress hundreds of thousands of years to start doing this ish facepalm emoji. So this is the video that is getting everyone up in arms. 12.2 million views. Let's see.
6 raw eggs and a raw beef brain.
Jesus.
110 grams of protein, 1,100 calories.
Damn, that looks fucking appetizing, bro. So getting into the comment section, cholesterol skyrocketing. This would depend on the individual. Now it's kind of interesting because there is a lot of literature that would argue against this, or literally show the data to assert otherwise. But for me, like, even when I had a few eggs in my diet, introducing and removing them had a pretty dramatic impact on my total cholesterol and my LDL, which you can see verified through my vertical diet logs. I was literally eating a pound of bison a day, but it was just the introduction and removal of eggs that was fucking with my cholesterol level significantly. However, that doesn't necessarily equate to plaque buildup. So that is obviously a nuanced subject, and it doesn't mean just because you have a high cholesterol level that automatically equates to, arterial plaque buildup, calcification of arteries, etc. So that's like a whole separate tangent and a different conversation. But at the end of the day, in general, like, eggs are a very nutritious food, and I think most people would be, fine with them. Great source of choline. Like, there's so many things from eggs that I think go overlooked because they get a really bad rap for their, I don't know, like the fact that it's just like the yolk, the cholesterol content of it. A lot of people assume cholesterol from egg yolk equals plaque buildup. And it's like maybe with your inflammatory lifestyle and all this other shit, assuming that you were like a hyper responder to dietary cholesterol to begin with. But anyways, bro gonna don't even know if I can say this, but the 20th version of you know what? Wolverine Goofy. It really ain't that deep, bro. I'm gonna stick with a Pop-Tart, my boy. Enjoy the Prion. So this was a comment that I expanded because I kind of wanted to see, like, when you're eating literal, like, raw brain, you start to think, like, if there was ever going to be, you know, a disease I'm going to get from raw meat, you know, it seems like brain is one of the most problematic areas potentially, given, you know, you've probably heard of mad cow disease and like some of this weird, sketchy shit. But is it actually relevant? So this is one of the top comments. Enjoy the prions. Literally incurable, excruciating death. Laugh my fucking ass off. 175 likes. I was looking for this comment. People still eat brains. It's more common than we think. It does increase risk of prions and kuru. It's like 1 in 5,000. 1 in 5,000 is too fucking high. Prions is a big no. Good news is it's a lot rarer now because we are aware of the disease and how it's transmitted. I mean, it's a lot less rare when people like this dude are just casually munching raw cow brains, crying, laughing face times two. You can get mad cow disease. Kuru is with humans, but yeah, regardless, a lot of people and tribes actually eat brains more than you think, and because we know that what can cause is these things. They're easier to prevent. Was this necessary to break into 3 fucking different comments? I don't think so. So I kind of wanted to comment on a couple of things as far as like raw meat ingestion, the raw egg ingestion. You know, what is problematic about it? There is some, like it almost, I don't know, like would this guy have done this channel if he wasn't inspired by Liver King? I don't know, like are there more people trying to jump on the ancestral living bandwagon? I don't know. You know, it would have been, it's kind of interesting to see these, characters kind of pop up, just, shirtless on camera, showing the raw meat and, flexing on the gram and whatnot. But ultimately, if they really believe in this stuff, I guess they're trying to put out a message. Like, what is this? Guys, don't eat spleen. It's nasty.
But not a dramatic reaction. Like an honest.
I'm not being dramatic. Fuck. It tastes like iron.
This is the metaliest fucking meat I've ever tried.
You're fucking wild. Alright, bro.
And I will not.
Prions also take time to show any results. The Arab Liver King. Okay, so the first thing I want to comment on is the raw egg ingestion, because this is something that I have some relevant experience with in the past, more so with the pasteurized egg white. So this is something I was told by veteran bodybuilders is a super great way to get in a protein dense swig of like easily digested, rapidly assimilated, high quality protein. However, pasteurization is something that gets rid of bacteria that can be problematic for salmonella and whatnot, but it is not sufficient to thoroughly denature avidin, which is a binding protein that can actually essentially bind up biotin and yield it inactive. It's almost like total test versus free test, but with nutrients in your body. So if you have this avidin protein that is binding up the biotin, you can end up with a biotin deficiency if you are having a shit ton of pasteurized egg whites, but also raw eggs. Again, there's egg white in the fucking egg itself. It is the fucking entire egg. So if you are not cooking it and you are not denaturing this binding protein sufficiently to a point where it's not going to be structurally problematic for binding up this biotin, you could end up with a deficiency. Now again, how likely is that to happen with the quantities of raw eggs a normal person be eating? Like presumably, I guess, if you are somebody who would even do this to begin with, it's probably part of some sort of regular routine that you like adhere to, thinking it's ancestrally consistent or fucking something, or you think there's some sort of like peptides and growth factors that are otherwise going to be destroyed during the boiling process or the scrambling process or something. So anyways, getting into the literature, there is actually not a ton of data I could find on it, but it seems like in general biotin deficiency is noted in individuals who have had diets consisting of raw eggs. So this was human biotin deficiency, a case history of biotin deficiency induced by raw egg consumption in a cirrhotic patient. Summary of what they found was a 62-year-old white female developed clinical manifestations of biotin deficiency after consuming a diet containing 6 raw eggs daily for 18 months. Diet was advised by a well-meaning physician to aid liver regeneration following a diagnosis of Lennox cirrhosis. Clinical manifestations included anorexia, nausea, vomiting, glossitis, pallor, depression, lassitude, substernal pain, scaly dermatitis, and desquamation of the lips. It's hard to say. All symptoms cleared or improved markedly after 2 to 5 days of parenteral vitamin therapy, providing 200 micrograms of biotin daily while she continued her pre-treatment diet. In contrast to other reports, she did not exhibit anemia, muscle pains, hypercholesterolemia, or electrocardiographic abnormalities. Normal subjects were observed to remove free injected biotin from the blood within 3 to 5 hours, excreting 55 and 27% in the urine in 24 hours after injection. In contrast, free biotin did not disappear from the patient's blood for approximately 8 hours, and 91% of the dose appeared in the urine. These results suggest that hepatic cirrhosis prevented the proper storage and utilization of biotin in this patient. So perhaps the answer could be just, adequate supplementation of biotin with your raw egg diet. But I mean, like, at the end of the day, would you not be better off just, cooking the shit and ensuring you were not dealing with potentially nutrient deficiency inducing binding proteins that otherwise would not be there with adequate cooking? I don't know, it's more time efficient, I guess. Maybe you might argue that there's certain growth factors that are denatured that otherwise wouldn't be if you were having it raw. But I mean, ultimately, have we seen any inhibition of proliferation or growth potential opportunity from cooking eggs? Seemingly no. It seems like all the bodybuilders historically, none of them were, there was none that set themselves apart by having raw meat or raw eggs. I don't see the necessity to pose that risk for yourself necessarily going into uncharted territory when we know that humans have seemingly adapted to a cooked diet in general. I don't think that many would argue that our GIs have essentially adapted to cooked foods and being able to, even the raw meat discussion, getting into the brains and the raw brains, is that safe, and the prions thing. It's out of my realm of expertise, to be honest. And this is something I'm digging into for the first time too, and it highly interests me. Learning about this stuff, and I'll probably bring it up on the Paul Saladino podcast that I end up doing probably in the near future, as well as Liver King. We talked again, and he wants to make it happen. So I guess we're gonna see when that happens. It'd be cool if we could do it in person next time I'm in the States, but we'll see how that pans out because he's obviously a busy fucking guy. But both of them, I'm sure, would have a lot to say about this. So I'll definitely add that to my, list of questions for them. Now, as far as getting back to the mad cow disease and, this raw brain, if it's that problematic, in this prions discussion, you can't get, the cow version, I guess, seemingly, but you can get something called Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. Apparently 232 people have died worldwide, and once you get it, you're pretty much fucked, apparently, as of 2019. But most of them got it in the United Kingdom, not in the States. I guess the majority of people watching are from the States, but we do have, I think there's 10% of my demographic is UK, so I don't know, watch out in the UK, but it seems like the FDA has some level of rigor when it comes to screening, I don't know, for the food that cows are ingesting, the things that go into ensuring, I don't know, disease-free farming circumstances and whatnot, in order to make sure that individuals don't end up with this, who are just getting a hunk of beef raw, and then if they eat it, I don't really know. Apparently only 4 lived in the States, so that seems pretty fucking good. And apparently the likely scenario was that they were traveling or living overseas when they actually got the disease because of the FDA's oversight of this kind of stuff in the food supply. But again, that's from statements from the FDA themselves. I'm pretty sure they would not be putting out information of their shortcomings necessarily. So, who's to say? I would think that, eating a raw brain is still it seems a bit sketchy, but it's also, just something that's very uncommon. So perhaps it's just the, extremity of the situation that is making me quite suspicious. But at, minimum, the raw egg thing, the risk of salmonella and whatnot, I think it's worthwhile to at least be pasteurizing. And then above and beyond that, the avidin is still not neutralized at pasteurization temperature. So that's where, cooking would make sense, just to avoid that kind of potential scenario if you're doing this on a regular basis. The amount of raw eggs that woman had that induced that biotin deficiency is the exact same amount of daily eggs this guy's ingesting in his TikTok video. So I don't think that having it randomly once in a while will do anything realistically, but I think long term, this could have a cumulative effect where you end up binding up pretty much all of your freely circulating biotin and inducing some level of deficiency that could result in actual make you symptomatic and have some sort of blatant issues that impair physiologic functions and health and whatnot. But the raw meat thing, again, I personally believe that we've sort of just grown to handle chewing cooked meat better seemingly too. Like if you have a piece of chewy ass raw meat, it's going to take way longer to eat, and presumably, at least seemingly, some of the literature implies that it's more energy intensive from a digestive resource allocation in order to actually break it down and whatnot. Like if you have ground cooked bison versus a fucking hunk of goddamn bison meat, presumably the cooked one is going to be easier to break down and actually assimilate and get nutrient partitioning and whatnot, versus trying to chew this goddamn piece of raw literal animal and then break it down in your stomach. There is some level of extra layer of intensity that comes along with that, above and beyond the risk of foodborne illness too, which seems to be something that you can attenuate just by cooking. So again, the foodborne illness thing too, do you just assume you're going to acclimate for the likelihood of salmonella, E. coli, all that kind of stuff? That seems to be a risk still, even if it's not going to be literal neurodegenerative disease that fucking kills you. This kind of stuff would not be fun to deal with. That can last for a full week and wipe you out of being, being any level of productive, make you lose a bunch of weight. You're, sitting on the toilet all the time. It just doesn't seem like a good risk, what's the ROI on that? Just to hopefully get increased IGF-1 from your meat or something? What is the probability that you're going to be getting anything that's orally bioavailable in the peptide spectrum that is going to be actually useful, when at the end of the day, we are looking for the substrate to actually fuel physiologic processes to endogenously produce these hormones to begin with? I care about the actual nutrient assimilation in order to maximally produce internal growth hormone, which downstream leads to growth factor production in my liver. That's what I care about. I don't really care if I have remnant fucking amounts of growth factors in the meat I'm eating as much necessarily, as long as I have the cofactors and the substrate to produce it myself. It's the discussion of if I want to eat, take pills of NMN versus do the things in my lifestyle that otherwise are going to contribute to the endogenous production of that NMN in the cells where I actually need it. There is some stuff that can be useful from, obviously vitamins and minerals and shit are useful to get from food. That's hugely supportive of all of our functions. But there's certain things that I think, and the NMN thing is just a side tangent because it's something that, recently, at least I've seen literature that supports that it's not something that actually makes a practical difference in the cells that we care about. It seems like it's more just liver concentrations. I have to dig into it further, but just a side tangent I'm currently interested in. I could be wrong, I'm still digging into it. But anyways, get the actual nutrient density of foods, very important obviously, but I've never seen orally bioavailable growth factor products to begin with that are useful. So I would be skeptical that cooking is destroying, peptides and growth factors that are otherwise producing a marked difference that warrants, eating something that is less appealing to begin with. Cooking the meat, you can make it just smells better, tastes better, easier to chew and get down and fucking, get back to work. I don't know, it just seems like a logical thing. I guess, cooking is a process in itself. So if maybe you could argue it's more efficient to have raw, but ultimately, there's nothing I could really find that says you shouldn't eat a raw cow brain. But if it's, sourced correctly and everything, you're not getting it from a sketchy cow somewhere, or a sketchy farming practice, or a sketchy farmer who has sketchy farming practices. But, for peace of mind, I would imagine if you're going to eat a brain, it might make sense to ensure that there are no foodborne illnesses in it, and to ensure that you are not getting something that I don't know, has any level of risk associated with it, and it is, thoroughly cooked. And I don't know, obviously raw meat is a delicacy though, so it could be just talking out of my ass, and I don't really know at the end of the day. I'd be interested to see some more like actual hard data on this stuff. But personally, I can say for the raw eggs, I would probably not do it. Based on what I've seen in the literature, as far as the raw meat, I would also not do it, but I could be convinced otherwise, probably. But it depends. Like, to me, this seems really, really sketchy. I would doubt that this guy has the information to really, you know, inform him enough to make a decision on this sort of thing. I don't know, unless he has his own fucking farm and he's doing this stuff himself and he knows exactly what's going on. I don't know. Like, to me, it just seems like a risk that may not otherwise be worth taking. Like, is there some sort of evidence that cooking this will otherwise like damage the structural integrity of some of the proteins in here that you want to assimilate orally, that somehow are going to get to your own brain and do something that they would have otherwise not done if you cook this shit? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. All the comments help the algorithm. Much appreciated. Like, subscribe, check out my blog. Morereplacementaids.com. Follow me on Instagram, and replacementaids, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My preventative medicine and hormone replacement therapy platform, where we connect you with high quality medical providers who understand and stay on top of the most cutting edge literature when it comes to interpreting biomarkers, you know, digging into diagnostics and creating an individualized protocol just for you, warranted on your own personal needs. And this does not just involve pharmacology. It can involve things like lifestyle factors, dietary intervention, getting nutrient dense foods in, sleep hygiene. Like, some people are just low T from shit sleep. Like, there are so many things that go overlooked when it comes to basic hormone balance. And I think a lot of people haphazardly jump on exogenous hormones that may not otherwise need them. And it's a lifelong therapy. So you want to weigh out all your options, as well as just get somebody in your camp who is looking out for your needs. Because again, even if you're, you know, a guy who is enhanced, for example, or you're somebody who is just trying to be very, very preventative in general, knowing what kind of ancillaries are warranted, knowing what kind of diagnostics and biomarkers you should be getting from a cardiovascular disease prevention perspective, a cancer risk perspective, these kind of things are very nuanced, and there is a lot of new literature always coming out that supports the more elaborate, insightful diagnostics that may otherwise not be even evaluated at a lot of clinics. So instead of getting haphazardly thrown on a TRT, HCG, and anastrozole protocol at your, you know, normal cookie cutter clinic, I would recommend checking us out. Fortunately, not everyone does that, but that is a very common practice I see, unfortunately, and it's very prevalent and concerning. So that's not something you want. You want something tailored to you based on your own needs, and not haphazardly jumping on drugs that you may otherwise not need. So anyways, there's that, and anything else I'm associated with: Gorilla Mind nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode pre-workout formulas that design myself from scratch, a recommended diet model for gaining muscle and sports performance, which does include, you know, a decent amount of red meat. But yeah, you can check it out. It supports all performance needs, strength gain, muscle growth, whilst being mindful of gut health and backfilling micronutrient requirements to actually fuel physiologic processes needed to produce maximum amounts of hormones and balance them appropriately. And anything else I'm associated with, it's all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.